Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me again. Okay, so today I have two Big H updates. I'm just gonna get straight into the video. Big H, I beg your pardon, had a price increase in US dollars only. I didn't see any major changes for any other currencies. So it's for USD. It was mainly for shoes. Oran's went up. I think the Oasis sandals, some boots went up, and a few other shoes went up. I've linked everything below on my blog. You can go read it on my blog to just get a quick overview, because I'm not going to go through the individual increases, but they did increase at shoes. The increases are nominal, but it's still a price increase, so I thought it was just worth mentioning. So just make sure you go check it out on my blog. I'll be updating my blog a lot moving forward, but I'll be writing about everything. I'll be doing luxury, skincare, beauty, hair. But if you just want to read luxury updates on my blog, you just click on the luxury category, which is on the right hand side of the blog itself, and then you can just get all of my luxury updates, or you can also click on the relevant brands, because I have categories for each one on my website. Okay, and now I want to tell you about the shenanigans, honey, that went down in Austin, Texas. What's up to everyone in Texas, in the US? Fun fact, Texas is where the majority of Tanzanian diaspora in America live. So Texas is like little Tanzania in the US. So hi guys. Okay, so let me tell you something. First of all, Big H, honey, you got dragged, boo-boo, on the internet, sweetheart. Listen, I think Big H were doing way too much with this launch. So they opened the boutique in Austin. By all accounts, it was an absolute nightmare, fiasco. It went down terribly. If you're a member of my Facebook group, you already know what time it is. But if you're not, I wanted to just let you know what happened. So I was reading a ton of social media, Instagram, Facebook groups. A lot of you actually contacted me privately to tell me that you were there. And you did go to the launch opening, and a lot of you let me know, like, hey Kagem, I'm there, I'll let you know the tea. So I actually got told directly by a lot of people as well, which is great, because I feel like there's some really interesting themes. So the launch happened on Saturday, which was the 30th of April, and yeah, by all accounts it went really badly for the general public. So essentially what happened is Big H didn't separate VIPs from the general public on that launch opening day, the grand opening. They had VIPs coming the same day as everyone else. What this did is it created this sense of us and them after speaking to a ton of you, because essentially VIPs were given appointments 6 months before the boutique even opened, and that's like a total oxymoron. How do you be a VIP of a boutique that has no business because it hasn't opened yet? Well, obviously Big H were inviting, tastemakers, influencers, wealthy people in the area who have a profile, and then those people are now going to be the new VIPs for that particular boutique. A few of you sent me profiles of people who you said were at the event and stuff. And also just something like, moving forward, we don't name people anymore on this channel, so don't name drop anyone in the comments, you guys, please. I don't have beef with anyone. I want to be able to talk about these things, but we're not going to be naming people. But essentially, there was a lot of people from Big H corporate, like a lot of high-ranking Big H executives were also there. So it seems like, from what some of you are telling me, corporate invited people who they say are VIPs, but then there's this kind of weird kind of like schism, basically, because you have who corporate invited, you have maybe what the SAs wanted to do, whatever. It was just basically a mess. So those people were like queue jumping, and they had appointments. Some of them would go in, shop and buy things and leave, and then come back. There was a profile of one so-called VIP who put on her Instagram stories that she was allowed to have an appointment. She scored a quota bag, bought some other bits, and then left, and then went back to buy more when people had been queuing for 10 hours. Look, okay, let me be clear. Okay, we all love Big H, honey, and we love her. We think she's that G. But the way this was handled was wrong, and I'm sorry. I don't really care how much money Big H makes, boo-boo. I don't care, okay? I think that there are limits. I would say I'm quite tough when it pertains to luxury shopping. There's a lot that I can withstand. In January, I realized I could withstand a lot when it pertains to Big H, but I do think that they went a little bit too far with this grand opening. And one of the biggest issues that some of you were telling me was that people were queuing outside. There wasn't even like a shaded area. It wasn't like it was inside a shopping center where obviously you have AC and you're not being, beaten by the sun or whatever. People were queuing outside. People had queued from 5 a.m. Some people were there at 4 a.m. So basically, if you didn't get there before 6 a.m., you were not going to enter the boutique. I did hear from some of you that there were a wide range of offers. I think some of you told me Mini Kelly, Birkin 30. Apparently there was a Faubourg Birkin there. One of you said that. And there were, lots of, great bags were there, obviously on offer to clients. Even if there are lots of great handbags that were there for clients, I don't think the way Big H handled this was correct. You can go read the thread on the purse forum. It's called Big H Austin. If you read it in the sub forum for Hermes shopping, you should find it there, and you can read all of the tea. I'm not going to go through every single thing because a lot of stuff was shared in different places like forums, Facebook, Instagram, but essentially the general public, people who were queuing who didn't get the VIP invites, were queuing for 10 hours. Some people had queued there for 12 hours. Some people had just been queuing and waiting. And then eventually security came out and told people at a certain time, like, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to get in. Security were like also making sure that people from the general public didn't queue jump. People were being queue jumped ahead of. So let's say you were like 10th in line. There were people all of a sudden who would just come in and start queue jumping. It wasn't done properly. A lot of you are always making exceptions for Big H. You always defend it. If this was Chanel would be raked through the coals. If this was Louis Vuitton, honey, her reverse monogram wig would be dragged, honey. No, this is bang out of order. And I'm sorry, it is. And we all need to say it is. So I was chatting to some of you about it, and some of you were like, okay, but it doesn't affect them. No, it doesn't affect them. Same thing with my video yesterday about Big C. Big C is not affected, honey. She's still going to be cashing her checks, okay? Big H is not affected. She's still going to be cashing her checks, you get me, drinking her horse cocktails and living her life, and she's still going to be doing her thing. But I do think that it's worth for Big H to, I think, do things in a much more, in my opinion, professional manner. This doesn't sound like it was executed in a professional manner. To be honest with you, it doesn't sound like it was done well. Big H is not the only game in town where people will queue to enter boutiques. I was at the obviously in January when I was at the Champs-Elysees, and when it pertained to Louis Vuitton, I remember the first time, I think if you remember those videos, the first time I went to the Champs-Elysees, I queued, and then I tried to queue. The security guard, very nicely by the way, was like, I'm sorry, but the queue has closed. I was like, well, wow, okay, let me go queue again. And then I got an SA's contact, and then I didn't have to queue anymore once I got that SA's contact, right? So I think that Big H, what they should have done is they should have done a separate launch for VIPs. Some of you were telling me like, oh, they probably did do that, and then they had more VIPs. It's my understanding that they didn't. So they didn't have like a proper hardcore VIP launch. If they didn't, they should have. They should have just allowed the VIPs to have their own launch. And then they should have just had the general public. Most people are completely fine with queuing. I have no problem with queuing, but I'm weird about queue jumping. Those of you from the UK, you know what time it is. I feel like in the UK, people really respect queues, and people don't play with queues, honey. I don't want anyone queue jumping me. I would have really been annoyed at seeing people queue jump and all of this. That really would have annoyed me. Not the VIPs going to their appointments, that doesn't bother me, but it would have upset me had I seen what some of you told me, that a VIP is going to their appointment. They're spending ages in the boutique, and then they're slowly allowing people to enter. VIPs leave the boutique. VIPs go back to the boutique and then show off about it on social media. In my opinion, I think that Big H didn't execute this well, and I feel like Big H probably know because they have their ear to the ground. We all know that luxury essays read the Purse Forum threads. I bet you they're reading that thread, and you guys can say what you want. Big H are reading that Hermes Austin thread, honey. They're reading it. So many of you are frightened to have like even a nice critical opinion. We all love Big H, honey, but she can be called out when she's wrong. This was wrong, and I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone says, this was wrong. I know some of you are like, well, you shouldn't queue for 10 hours, go to a reseller. That's not the point. I don't want to hear anyone trying to say, this is why you should go resell. We're not interested in that argument. Sorry, no. We're talking about people having the right to go to a shop. I think that this just wasn't handled well, and they just, it's funny to me. I just can't believe that they didn't like foresee the demand for this particular launch. Like, how could you not foresee it when everyone is desperately trying to score bags? There are no bags in France. Like, Paris is, a desert. But Paris is literally a desert at the moment. No one's scoring there right now. The US has been tough. A lot of you have been waiting for offers. You're starting to get your boutique offers now. How could they not have foreseen this? So as far as I'm concerned, after speaking to some of you who told me that you were there, I think that Big H just really need to get it together. The whole point of going to the grand opening is getting a quota bag or a really nice non-quota bag with minimal spend, if any. Most of the time you might just buy something small like Oran's at a grand opening and then be like, hello, could I have a back in? Some people can easily even just say, you get in there, you're like, hi, can I have a back in 25? Let me tell you something. If I queue for 6 hours, you better believe I'm not buying anything in that boutique except a BKC, boo-boo, okay? Let me tell you that. I'm not playing the game if I queued for 6 hours. Something else that I feel like people haven't mentioned for this whole fiasco, because that's what it is, a fiasco, is there is an issue when it pertains to health and safety, like people's health and safety, the fact that people were queuing in the sun. I faint if I stand in the sun for a real long period of time. I can just faint. What if people had fainted in the queue? What if people had collapsed? I'm not saying it was incredibly hot or anything like that. It's very hot here, but I don't think that this was handled well. I don't think it was handled well, and I think it was wrong, and Big H need to get it together, honey. And also, I think some of you, you might not know some of the things that are happening in Europe, because it's not really being talked about. I don't mind talking about it here, but Big H is quietly closing boutiques in Europe. They closed a boutique in Germany last year. They closed a boutique, I believe, in Belgium. So Big H, sweetheart, you are not perfect, boo-boo, okay? You are not perfect, so don't be so arrogant having people standing outside queuing for 10 hours, but you're quietly closing boutiques in Europe. It's not cool the way that this was handled. When I was hearing from you guys who went to this event, I would have been absolutely livid. It would have sent me over the edge to see people queue jumping, even who were non-VIPs or whatever. And to know that people who were so-called VIPs were going in to their appointments, leaving, and then coming in again to buy more things while people have been desperately queuing and waiting. That's not cool. And I don't care how fire Big H's products are. I think a lot of you give Big H too much leeway with certain things, and I'm gonna call it how I see it. This wasn't handled well. Will this affect the boutique? No. Let's see what happens. But it's not a good beginning. I'm sure they're still gonna cash their checks. Like I said, honey, Big H is still gonna be drinking her horse cocktail. She's still gonna be cashing her checks, okay? But this wasn't handled well. If you're in a lot of social media, you're in Facebook groups, you're on Instagram, you know the drama that went down. People were really, really upset about this launch. If you went to the Big H Austin grand opening, drop some comments below. Without name dropping anyone, don't name drop people, because we know that there was some high-ranking Big H execs who were there. But tell me what you think of what happened. Even if you didn't go, what do you think about all of the shenanigans? I feel like Big H right now is like Tupac at the height of his career, when things were going just so amazing for him. He was in that film with Janet Jackson and Poetic Justice, I believe. He was at the height of his rap career, his acting career. I feel like Big H at the moment, because of social media, is like Tupac. So they feel like they can do no wrong. They feel like they have the Midas touch, but there are always peaks and valleys to everything. So I feel like Big H need to just tread carefully, boo boo. Okay, don't have people queuing outside for 10 hours. You know what I'm weird about? I don't actually have a problem with the game. I don't have a problem with going 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1. That doesn't actually bother me. As long as I know that that's what we're doing. I'm weird about like queuing for hours and hours and hours and then not entering the boutique. That would have sent me over the edge. I am telling you right now, I would have lost it. I would not have been happy. So I would love to know what you guys think about all of that, and keep that energy. If this was Chanel, you guys would have dragged her. So you better drag Big H in these comments. Okay, I want to see Big H being dragged, honey. Okay, I want to see that ponytail, you get me, being dragged. That's what we're doing right now. Okay, we're dragging Big H's ponytail because she needs to be dragged. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of you have sent me profiles of so-called VIPs. I mean, okay, well, that's all I'm gonna say. If you've seen those pictures, you know what I'm talking about. I'm just gonna, keep it as cute as possible. But I think it just, wasn't handled well. But it was cool to hear about there being a football there. I think that's exciting. It's always cool whenever you hear that there's like a football Birkin in a boutique that isn't like in France. That's always exciting whenever you hear about that. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. And also obviously the fact that at least some people, so the people who got those offers that I heard were not VIP people. So at least Birkins were given out, Constances were given out, Minnie Kelly was given out. That's what I heard. So if you heard something different, that's fine, but that's what I heard. So I would love to hear your take on all of this, because I think we're in a Big H bubble. That's why Big H gets dragged. But we still love her, but she still deserves to be dragged, because I still feel like the way things are going right now with Big H, this is why my dragging videos exist, because this is peak arrogance. No other company, even Rolex or Audemars, couldn't do this to their clients. Okay, they couldn't get away with having people queuing for 10 hours in the sun melting and then not even getting to enter the boutique. Yeah, they should have handled this better. And I'm sure that there's some people from Big H reading the Big H Austin thread on the press for it, because it's tough there. People really didn't have a good launch. So I'd love to know what you think about that. As most of you know, Big H really cares. Big H is actually similar to Chanel in this regard, and you can say what you want, but Big H does actually take cues from Chanel in terms of this one portion of their strategy, which is boutiques. Big C and Big H really like having retail storefronts, so expect to see a lot more store openings in obviously the US. We're not really going to be seeing them in Europe. As I said, they're closing boutiques in Europe, and this is something that no one's really talking about, so I'm more than happy to chat about it. But Europe is really not a priority that much anymore for the horse, with exception of France, which is obviously their home, so they're going to have their boutiques obviously in their home country, but they're closing boutiques in Europe, but they're opening more in the US, and of course Asia. They're also opening. They just did I think a refurbishment of the boutique in Brisbane in Australia, and they also opened a new boutique last year in Tokyo, I believe, in Japan, and they also did refurbs. They did a refurb of their boutique as well last year in Luxembourg, and that was like the only outlier I noticed for Europe, because I do keep up to date with what Big H is doing commercially. I was quite surprised that they even wrote a press release about it, that they had refurbished the Luxembourg boutique, and that was last year at some point. And I read that on CPP Luxury. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know all of that Big HT. I can't wait for us to chat about it, to talk about it. And just a little comment at the end, some of you who went to the Texas launch, you were telling me oh, well, I'm not that important, and I'm a little person, that's why I was queuing. First of all, you are not a little person. I don't want to hear anyone who watches this channel talking down on themselves in terms of these luxury brands. a lot of the people who were chosen for this VIP list for a boutique that doesn't exist, that didn't exist before the 30th of April, are people who are known in, obviously, that sit in Austin or in other parts of Texas, and the people who have a profile. Just because you don't have a profile doesn't mean that you're not balling, that you can't go into that boutique and do serious damage. So I don't want to hear anyone saying, I'm a little person and they only care about people with this and this and this. Yes, it's about money, but let's be clear. Those who spend are the people who are going to be making things happen. You don't need to be famous or known in order to be important to shop at luxury brands. I just want to be clear about that, because some of you were talking like that to me and I was like, no, I need to make sure that we all know everyone is doing their own thing and everyone is successful in their own right. Okay, at the end of the day, it is always about the money. So the people who are spending the money are the people who are going to basically have a profile at any Big H boutique in any part of the world. So I just wanted to be clear about that. And another thing is, even for this launch, some of you sent me profiles, as I said, of people who were successful in getting in and had posted on stories. There was like one woman who like literally was like, oh, I'm so lucky, I have a Big H fairy. By the way, I hate that whole Hermes fairy thing. It really drives me mad. It's a business relationship, you guys, okay? It's not Thumbelina, okay? It's not Peter Pan. But anyway, and the person was like, oh, my Hermes fairy is so amazing. I have an Hermes fairy and all of this. And literally in the picture, she's carrying racks and racks and racks of bait. I'm like, let me stop you right there, sweetheart, okay? Because I see a lot of small orange boxes, okay? So we all know what that means, that you were also buying bait. So keep that business relationship alive, honey, because that's what it is. First and foremost, it is a business relationship. I really hope that you like this video. I was getting complaints again about the length of my videos, so I hope that this length is okay for you. Remember, we're doing every day in May, so you know what you have to do. You have to subscribe, obviously, to this channel, hit notifications, and stick around. I've got some really exciting videos coming up that I think you're going to love so much, so please stick around with me. And also go join the Facebook group. It's really great. You can post your own scores and post things that you've purchased, or buy, like post things that you have in your collection or whatever. And yeah, follow me on my luxury Instagram, because I'm going to be doing more there, and also go follow me on TikTok. And like I said, you can go read about my blog, which is linked below. Some of you are like, oh, I'm too busy, I don't have time to listen to you talking for a long period of time. Sorry about that. Don't worry, I got you covered. I have my blog. You can just go and read it there. So I'd love to get your take on everything. By the way, I've been looking at, just to get a barometer for what is going on, I've been looking at resale prices for the Mini Kelly and for Kellys. There are a lot of HSS Mini Kellys at resale. A lot of HSS Mini Kellys at resale at the moment. I don't know why people are doing Mini Kelly special orders and then just putting them up on Fashion File or Rodeo File, as we call it on this channel. Like, why would you do, like, you know how hard it is to get a HSS, particularly for like the Mini Kelly or whatever, and then to just immediately go put it up on a Rodeo File. The Mini Kelly is going for like $40,000. I mean, it's totally overpriced. So those of you who want to get the Mini Kelly, I would just like stick it out in the boutique, because people have HSS Mini Kellys that are like $40,000 on Rodeo File, instead of literally sticking it out at the boutique and just, you know, grind it out there and get some really great looking bait, fine jewelry. Watch my bait series, which by the way has a playlist. Code name, the playlist is called Rodeo. Just grind it out buying bait, because there's in my opinion, the Mini Kelly, I don't care how well made it is not worth $42,000 US, $40,000. For reference, like you could take that and go to Cartier, or you could go to Rolex, you go to AP. I think it's worth just like, I think all of us, we need to all kind of just understand what's going on. For me, resale isn't for me, but I know some of you don't want to play the game, and I totally understand not wanting to play the game. But 42,000, 40,000 for HSS Mini Kelly, for HSS Mini Kellys, I think is over the top and honestly outrageous. I'm completely outraged. I know that there are a lot of fees that go into it, and it's not like the person sold it to Rodeophile for $40,000 because obviously they have to make their their profit, but you would be paying that. So please, guys, if you're interested in getting a Mini Kelly and you have the money, grind it out. Watch my bait series, buy men's watches, women's watches, buy diamonds, and get your MK2, and not have to pay these crazy premiums. Because I actually think at like 42,000 US dollars, I think the Mini Kelly in one of the leathers is like $8,550, something like that. I mean, it's basically like 5 to 1. That's what Rodeophile is charging as a premium. I mean, I know that the Mini Kelly does require significant spend, like 3 to 1, maybe 3.5, maybe 4, depending on the boutique, but 5 is crazy. This is just insane. I would just go to the boutique. So I just want to give you my opinion on that. Don't forget to like this video, and yeah, tell me what you think, and make sure you follow me on all of my socials, as I've said, and stay fully subscribed and hit that notification bell, and make sure that you hit notifications for YouTube. Don't just hit the bell and say all. Make sure you enable YouTube notifications. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow in my next video.